In our headlines on this Thursday, October 30th, here in South Korea, US President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping meet in the southern port city of Busan for trade talks today on the margins of the APEC leaders meeting set to begin on Friday in Gyeongju. And President Lee Jae-myung holds a series of sideline summits, including with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney earlier on this Thursday to address economic and defense cooperation. Meanwhile, K-pop girl group NewJeans loses a legal battle against its record label on allegations of mistreatment and manipulation as a court rules the group's contract with ADOR remains valid. Hello and welcome to the Daily Report for this Thursday, October 30th. I'm Min San-hee. Starting today until this coming Saturday, that is November 1st, our newscast comes to you in a special format as we here at Arirang News share team coverage of South Korea's hosting of this year's APEC Forum. That being said, I now turn to our news center set up in the historic city of Gyeongju, where my colleague Pei Eun-ji is standing by live. Eun-ji, welcome and do start us off then.
Right, Sunny, I'm here at Arirang TV's special studio set up here in Gyeongju. Right behind me is the Gyeongju Hanbok International Convention Center, where the APEC leaders meeting will take place over the next 2 days, starting tomorrow. And just next to that convention center is the Hilton Hotel, where U.S. President Donald Trump stayed overnight yesterday. So on the second and last day of U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to South Korea, he sat down for talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Busan. The U.S. leader said they agreed to lower tariffs on Chinese imports and that the issue over U.S. access to rare earths has been settled. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
The two leaders of the world's largest economies met each other for the first time in over 6 years. At Daremaru facility located within the Republic of Korea Air Force Base at Gimhae International Airport, the mega event of Trump-Xi meeting was held on Thursday, with the summit going on for around 100 minutes. During his opening remarks, President Trump praised Xi as a great leader and said the two countries will continue to have fantastic ties. Xi, in response, said that the two leading economies in the world having friction is normal, as each nation has different national conditions.
And we will be having some discussions. I think we've already agreed to a lot of things, and we'll agree to some more right now.
I always believe that China's development goes hand in hand with your vision to make America great again. Our two countries are fully able to help each other succeed and prosper together.
According to a short media briefing during his way back home aboard the Air Force One, Trump said the rare earth issue is settled. China reportedly decided to defer its export controls on rare earths for a year to avoid the tariffs that Trump has threatened to impose on Chinese goods. In response to Beijing agreeing to help the U.S. address the fentanyl problem, Washington agreed to reduce fentanyl-related tariffs Trump imposed from the current 20% to 10%. Trump also announced that China would immediately resume purchases of U.S. soybeans. While saying the meeting was a 12 on the scale from 0 to 10 and 10 being the best, Trump said he is to visit China in April next year, after which President Xi plans to visit either Palm Beach, Florida or Washington, D.C. Regarding any meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, Trump said he was too busy to have a chance to talk to him as the purpose of the visit was talks with Xi, and that he intends to come back to see Kim again. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
And South Korean President Lee Jae-myung continues his summit diplomacy in Gyeongju. This morning, the president met with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. For more, let's go live to our presidential office correspondent, Song Yoo-jin. Yoo-jin, tell us more.
Right. Good afternoon, Eun-ji. President Lee met with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who is on an official visit to South Korea at a hotel in Gyeongju on Thursday morning. Now, this marks their second summit following their first one on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Canada in June. The two leaders reaffirmed their comprehensive strategic partnership in their opening remarks.
6.25 전쟁 당시에 27,000명이라고 하는 엄청난 규모의 군대를 파견했고 거기서 400명에 가까운 인명 손실까지 입으면서 자유 대한민국을 지키기 위해서 애써주셨습니다. 그래서 캐나다는 대한민국에 있어서 단순한 우방국을 넘어서서 동맹에 준하는 핵심 우방 국가다.
We're meeting on the 10th anniversary of our free trade. We're meeting at a time when our defense cooperation is needed, and very importantly, that our cultural ties continue to grow.
Now, following the summit, Seoul and Ottawa issued a joint statement announcing the launch of the ROK Canada Security and Defense Cooperation Partnership, the first of its kind for Canada in the Indo-Pacific region. And another pillar of the statement is that the two countries concluded negotiations to create a secure framework to share sensitive data between the two governments. Now, with defense topping the agenda of the summit, the two leaders also discussed South Korea's Hanwha Ocean being one of the final contenders for a roughly $44 billion submarine contract with Canada.
President Lee expressed hope that South Korea could play a leading role in strengthening Canada's defense capabilities. Prime Minister Carney said he was well aware of Korea's submarine technology and looked forward to seeing it firsthand during his visit to Hanwha Ocean Shipyard in Gyeongju on Thursday.
Now, beyond defense, the two leaders agreed to expand cooperation in energy, critical minerals, and culture as well. And throughout the day, President Lee is holding a series of bilateral summits. He just held a bilateral summit with the leaders of New Zealand and Thailand, and eyes are on his very first summit with the newly elected Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, who arrived in South Korea today.
Right, and Eugene, there has also been a major development following yesterday's summit between Seoul and Washington, right?
You're definitely right, Inji. So U.S. President Donald Trump this morning posted on social media that he had given the approval to South Korea to build a nuclear power submarine and that the sub would be built in Philadelphia. Now, this comes after President Lee Jae-myung asked the United States to approve South Korea to secure fuel for such submarines so that it can build some, and that in exchange, that would ease the burden, the U.S.'s military burden in the region. Now, under the current nuclear cooperation agreement between South Korea and the United States, Seoul is barred from using nuclear power for military purposes and from producing or importing highly enriched uranium, the fuel needed for such submarines. Now, in response to Trump's announcement, South Korea's presidential office said it welcomes Trump's decisions and that it will work closely with Washington for follow-up talks.
Right, Eugene, before we let you go, tomorrow marks the start of APEC 2025, Korea's main event, the leaders' meeting, right? What can we expect there?
So tomorrow marks the official beginning of the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. It will be a two-day event, and it will be held under the theme, Building a Sustainable Tomorrow. Now, it will be the first day, and that there will be a first session. So the first session on Friday will be talking about boosting investment and also other areas of economic cooperation. That will be attended by the representatives of the 21 APEC member economies, as well as the Crown Prince of the United Arab Emirates and the Managing Director of the International Monitoring Front. Now, as for President Lee Jae-myung, he will, of course, be chairing this meeting, and then he will have lunch with the APEC Business Advisory Council, followed by a welcome dinner in the evening. So, the big event is just getting started, Inji. Back to you.
All right, Eugene, thank you for that. Do keep us updated. And President Lee Jae-myung and U.S. President Donald Trump agreed on a trade deal following their talks here in Gyeongju yesterday, a surprise breakthrough after 3 months of contentious talks. Korea will make investments worth $200 billion in cash in return for lower U.S. tariffs on cars. Our senior presidential office correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports from Gyeongju.
After the second summit between Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Donald Trump in just 2 months, a trade deal has been announced.
We reached a deal, and we did a lot of different things. We had a great session.
The two leaders met in Gyeongju on Wednesday for about an hour and a half, followed by a special dinner. Among the $350 billion investment package from South Korea, $200 billion will be in cash, and the amount that Seoul pays will be capped at $20 billion a year.
The investments will be made in dollars in accordance with business progress, so they will remain within a range that South Korea's foreign exchange market can withstand.
Similar to the deal the U.S. made with Japan earlier, profits generated from Korean investments will be equally shared with the U.S. until the initial investment is recouped. The remaining $150 billion will be dedicated to cooperation for shipbuilding.
대미 투자 확대를 통해서 또 대미 구매 확대를 통해서 미국의 제조 부흥을 지원하고 조선 협력도 적극적으로 해 나가도록 하겠습니다.
As a result, the U.S. tariffs on South Korean cars will be lowered from 25% to 15%. The U.S. reciprocal tariffs will stay at 15%. Pharmaceutical and lumber items will be granted most favored nation treatment, and airplane parts and generic drugs will be free from tariffs. For Korea, there will be no additional opening of the market in the agricultural sector, such as rice and beef, given the sensitivity of the matter.
The announcement came as a surprise, with not many expecting the outcome this time, following the nearly 3-month-long tug-of-war trade talks. Eyes are now on when the tariffs will be actually lowered. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
And at the APEC CEO Summit Korea today, global tech giants including Google, Microsoft, and TikTok garnered significant attention with their speeches focused on the need for global cooperation. Our economic correspondent Moon Ji-young reports.
No significant progress can be made without robust cooperation. This message resonated throughout all sessions of the APEC CEO Summit Korea on Thursday, as global tech and business leaders convened to discuss critical issues facing the digital world. Microsoft emphasized that a critical aspect of artificial intelligence adoption is ensuring its opportunities reach the broadest possible population, which should require robust infrastructure investments alongside local company collaborations.
I think one of the things that we've been very conscious of is ensuring that we don't expand the digital divide. I think the lesson is really thinking about how do you create the most fairly inclusive areas to grow technology adoption, and that way society as a whole benefits.
He further underscored the vital role of public-private partnerships in preventing AI from widening the digital divide. Another tech giant, Google, also identified AI as a tool of potential.
AI is global. Our regulatory frameworks must be as well. By building on common international standards, we can mitigate risks without stifling innovation, creating the public trust necessary for widespread adoption. Success in the AI era will require all of us to work in partnership.
Social media giant TikTok also underscored that unlocking digital opportunities across the APEC region fundamentally requires trust-led growth.
At TikTok, we realize that trust cannot be assumed. It must be earned every single day through our actions, our transparency, and our partnerships. Building a digital ecosystem that people feel safe to participate in requires more than just policy statements. It demands consistent investment, collaboration with local experts, and product design that is grounded in user well-being.
He also cited K-culture as a powerful example, driving massive commerce with K-pop, food, drama, and beauty trends thriving on TikTok. What these global tech leaders underscored wasn't just advanced tech, but the importance of a sustainable, responsible, and future-oriented digital ecosystem. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
So this year's APEC has drawn a lot of global attention with high-level diplomatic events, including the Trump-Xi meeting and talks between Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Donald Trump. For more on this, here in the studio, we have Choi Sung-ah, Secretary to the President for Foreign Press Affairs. Welcome to the studio.
Hello, hi, and thank you for having me.
So we have many foreign outlets, media outlets here in Gyeongju to cover the event. How would you describe the atmosphere on the ground?
Well, as you know, we have about more than 3,300 journalists registered here at the APEC event this time. For Korea, I think of all of the major multilateral summits that we have hosted in this country, it is by far the largest number of press that have registered. There is definitely excitement in the air. It's a time of multilateral platforms are in the news right now, and that is in Gyeongju at this point. We have journalists from countries that we've never had before in Korea. So countries from economies such as France and Spain that are not part of the APEC members are here to cover the news coming out of this area. And there's definitely excitement in the air.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And the APEC leaders meeting, the main event, will kick off tomorrow for the next 2 days. Could you tell us more about the significance of this gathering, how you think the event will be viewed by the international media?
Well, definitely, Korea, I think, has placed itself in the world where we're connecting and bridging the East and the West, and APEC is definitely the platform to do so.
Right. And it's been, 20 years since Korea last hosted APEC. That was in Busan. What message do you think this year's event in Gyeongju will send to the international media?
Well, I mean, as you know, the slogan that's been said over and over again is to connect the world and for us to innovate together. And after that, we want to prosper as a region and to have that impact throughout the world. And that message and the messages that will come out of each of the retreats and the sessions with the leaders of the economies will send that message to the world that Asia and Europe and Asia and the U.S. and all of Americas will connect together to be able to innovate and have everyone prosper at the same time.
Right, especially because so much has changed for the past 20 years, the geopolitical landscape and South Korea as well, right?
Yes, of course. And as you know, there was a big event with the President of the United States and the President of China meeting. Right. And that is only possible because we were able to provide that platform as a bridge country.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right. Before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I mean, it is very exciting times. We're hoping that the 3,300 journalists that are registered here and are enjoying the coverage and the news that's coming out of Seoul, that will attract the attention of all of the viewers around the world, including at Arirang TV.
Right. And is there any other events that you'd like to share with us happening here in Gyeongju, perhaps?
Well, there are many exhibitions and displays that are going on with traditional Korean relics. Much of history is shown here. It's available for the press, also available for every visitor that's coming here, and so there's so much to catch up on.
Right, a lot to look forward to. Thank you so much for coming in today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And it's not just diplomatic and economic meetings taking center stage here in Gyeongju. From ancient Silla to APEC 2025 Korea, Gyeongju is proving that tradition never fades. Rather, it transforms. A dazzling Hanbok fashion show brought Korea's cultural beauty to the world stage. Our Park Hyo-bin has more.
Under the glow of night lights, models in Hanbok, Korea's traditional attire, brought the country's timeless elegance to life. Gyeongju, the ancient city of Silla, once again shines as Korea's capital of culture. Ahead of APEC 2025 Korea, a Hanbok fashion show was held on Wednesday evening on a floating stage over Gyeongju Bridge in Gyeongju.
It's my first time seeing a Hanbok fashion show in person. My kids really enjoyed it too. I realized how beautiful Hanbok can be. It was a refreshing and joyful experience.
Set against the backdrop of the Silla-era bridge connecting the royal palace and the city gates, the runway was designed in the shape of the Korean letter Hyut. The show featured 5 symbols of Korean heritage: Korean traditional clothes, architecture, food, paper, and the alphabet with advanced technology.
This show stands out from traditional ones. Its theme is Inheriting Tradition, Flying with Technology. It features royal Silla costumes, APEC commemorative Hanbok, AI-designed pieces, and drone displays showing a new future for Hanbok culture.
The event was attended by South Korea's First Lady Kim Hae-kyung, the spouse of Canada's Prime Minister, and other distinguished guests from home and abroad, as well as locals. The world put the spotlight on Hanbok, sharing the beauty of Korea's tradition with the global audiences.
Gyeongju province is home to materials like silk and rami that have long supported Korea's hanbok industry. We hope to share this cultural legacy with the world.
Linking past and present, Hanbok is a living symbol of Korea's cultural spirit and evolving identity.
The Hanbok fashion show brought together Korea's timeless heritage with cutting-edge technology. It's also a stage for cultural diplomacy, sharing the beauty of tradition with the world. Park Hyubin, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Meanwhile, many cultural events are also taking place across the historic city. One standout is a media art event where visitors can enjoy the city's night view to the fullest. Our culture correspondent Park Gun-woo takes you there.
When night falls on Korea's ancient capital, Gyeongju, the city once home to kings and queens awakens, not through rituals or history, but through light. Every 20 minutes from 6:30 p.m. until 10 p.m., Daereungwon, a royal tomb complex, turns into a massive outdoor canvas. Using light and sound delicately designed to protect the heritage site, the show brings to life the interiors of the tombs, along with relics that were discovered inside.
It's a symbolic space where our cultural roots and spirit come alive. So it goes beyond just being a visual art experience. It's a dialogue with the past and present. The media art is titled Monghwa, meaning a glowing dream. We aim to make visitors feel as if they were stepping into their dream.
As the stunning media art show continues, trying on this traditional Shilla Dynasty outfit, complete with its golden accents, is a fantastic way to truly immerse yourself in Gyeongju, the capital city of Shilla, with 1,000 years of history. Those who want this immersive experience can try it out after registering on site on a first-come, first-served basis before the weekend shows. Since the event kicked off last Friday, more than 11,000 people have already visited and enjoyed themselves.
I bet this is the first media art show ever held at a tomb anywhere in the world. I wish events like this are held regularly so that the city can grow even further. It'll be a good way to promote Gyeongju to a wider audience.
Around a fifth of the total visitors have been foreign nationals, coming from near and far during the APEC event.
I really like the thing on the hill, so the whole sound and music kind of really worked well together. Switzerland is not really known for light and art displays.
Creating an inspiration. I think my friends would like it. Yeah, I will definitely show them video of this show.
As night falls on the ancient capital, Gyeongju's royal tombs come to life, where 1,000 years of history meet the glow of modern light, through November 16th, illuminating the city's path toward the next 1,000 years. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Now that ends our team coverage of APEC-related stories here in Gyeongju for this newscast. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Anji, thank you for the latest from the venue of this year's APEC event. Here in Seoul, we return to our regular lineup of local and international headlines. The U.S. Federal Reserve has decided to lower its benchmark interest rate by another 25 basis points. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
The U.S. Federal Reserve announced a quarter-point interest rate cut on Wednesday, marking a divided decision among policymakers. The move lowers the federal funds rate to a range of 3.75 to 4.00% and comes as the central bank works to ease concerns over tightening liquidity in money markets.
Today, the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by a quarter percentage point.
However, with a 10-2 vote, the decision was not unanimous. Two members dissented, Governor Stephen Moran, who pushed for a larger reduction to support slowing growth, and Kansas City Fed President Jeffrey Schmidt, who opposed any cut, citing ongoing inflation risks. The split highlights growing divisions within the central bank as it navigates an uncertain economic outlook. Speaking after the meeting, U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged the sharp differences within the committee. He cautioned that while some members favor additional easing, Others want to pause. The Fed chair also noted that another rate cut in December is still uncertain.
In the committee's discussions at this meeting, there were strongly differing views about how to proceed in December. A further reduction in the policy rate at the December meeting is not a foregone conclusion. Far from it. Policy is not on a preset course.
With the Bank of Korea freezing its rates earlier this month, the gap between the two central banks' rates now stands at 1.25 to 1.50%. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And in local news, a South Korean court has ordered K-pop girl group NewJeans to honor its contract with its record label ADOR. Our Eun-jin has details.
A South Korean court on Thursday ruled that the exclusive contract that K-pop girl group NewJeans signed with agency ADOR remains valid. This means the group has lost the lawsuit, as ADOR had sued to confirm the validity of the exclusive contract. The court found insufficient grounds to support NewJeans' key claims for termination, which was that the dismissal of former CEO Min Hee-jin was a violation. The court added that the fact that Min was removed from her position as CEO does not in itself mean that a managerial vacuum was created or that ADOR became incapable of fulfilling its contractual obligations, which runs until 2029. The dispute between NewJeans and ADOR began in November 2024 when the group abruptly held a press conference announcing the termination of their exclusive contract. The label responded in December by filing a lawsuit seeking confirmation of contract validity. A dispute had arisen in August of last year when HYBE, the parent company of ADOR, allegedly forced out NewJeans' mentor Min Hee-jin. The court discovered that ADOR had offered Min a revised contract valid for the remainder of her term, but it was Min who voluntarily resigned from her position as an internal director. ADOR also requested injunctions to prevent the members of NewJeans from pursuing independent activities or entering advertisement contracts without the agency's consent until the court came to a ruling, which the court accepted in March of 2025, effectively halting the group's activities altogether. The legal firm representing NewJeans stated that while the members respect the court's judgment, it was now impossible for them to return and continue normal activities under the agency, as their relationship and trust with ADOR has been completely destroyed. The firm also added that NewJeans plans to immediately file an appeal for Thursday's court ruling. Lee Eun-jin, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Hurricane Melissa continued its destructive path across the Caribbean on Wednesday, pounding Cuba and the Bahamas after making landfall in Jamaica on Tuesday as one of the strongest storms ever recorded in the region. Officials report at least 23 deaths in Haiti, 8 in Jamaica, and 1 in the Dominican Republic as flooding and landslides devastate communities. Melissa, at one point a Category 5 hurricane with 185-mile-per-hour winds, has now weakened to Category 2 but remains highly dangerous. The U.S. National Hurricane Center warns of storm surges of up to 7 feet and flooding across southeastern Cuba and the Bahamas. More than 77% of Jamaica is still without power, while damaged roads and downed communication lines hamper relief efforts. The U.S., UK, and United Nations have begun sending aid and rescue teams, though officials say the full extent of damage is still unknown. In Moscow on Wednesday, President Vladimir Putin announced that Russia had successfully tested its Poseidon nuclear-powered super torpedo, a weapon that analysts say could devastate coastal regions with radioactive ocean waves. Putin said the test took place on Tuesday, confirming the torpedo was launched from a submarine and that its nuclear propulsion system was activated for the first time. Talking to wounded soldiers at a Moscow hospital, Putin said that, quote, "there is nothing like this," boasting the Poseidon cannot be intercepted and can travel about 10,000 kilometers at speeds near 185 kilometers per hour. The test follows Russia's Burevestnik missile launch last week. Arms experts say Poseidon breaks traditional deterrence norms, carrying an estimated 2 megaton warhead capable of triggering massive underwater explosions. France's Senate approved a landmark bill adding consent to the country's rape law on Wednesday. Lawmakers say the move closes long-criticized legal gaps exposed by a high-profile sexual assault case. The new legislation redefines rape and sexual assault as any non-consensual act, requiring that consent be informed, specific, prior, and revocable, and not implied by silence or lack of resistance. The bill still requires President Emmanuel Macron's signature before becoming law. The reform follows the case of Giselle Pellicot, whose husband and dozens of others were convicted of raping her over nearly a decade, a trial that exposed what campaigners call a gray area in French law. Supporters say the change will make it easier to prosecute sexual violence and raise public awareness around mutual consent. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
To begin with, let's take a look at the weather in Gyeongju, where APEC 2025 will be held tomorrow. It rose to 19 degrees Celsius in the middle of the day today. This cool autumn weather will continue tomorrow and Saturday, with average temperatures for this time of year. However, the skies will be mostly cloudy. It started chilly this morning with a minimum temperature of 7.7 degrees in Seoul. In the daytime, the temperature rose by more than 10 degrees. With a large daily temperature difference between day and night, you should take good care of your health by keeping yourself warm. Tomorrow morning will be milder with Seoul at 11 degrees, Busan at 13 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 19 to 22 degrees all over the country. Rain is forecast in the central regions, the Jeollado provinces, and Jeju Island between Friday night and Saturday morning. After the rain stops, it will get cold again. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That brings us to the end of the Daily Report for this Thursday, October 30th. Thank you for watching.